before Inspector Gadget ever bumbled across your screen, he was supposed to be someone else entirely, and not just that. From its origins in a failed anime spin-off to Jim Carrey's lost audition to technology predictions that seem almost prophetic, these are 15 weird facts that Inspector Gadget has been hiding for over 40 years. Born from the ashes of a failed anime. Here's something that's going to blow your mind right out of the gate. Inspector Gadget was never supposed to exist. I know, that sounds dramatic, but it's completely true. The show's creation stemmed from a failed Lupin 3 spin-off called Lupin C8, which was scrapped due to legal disputes with Maurice LeBlanc's estate. You see, back in 1982, the French animation studio DIC Audiovisuel had partnered with Japan's Tokyo movie Shinsha to create something ambitious, a futuristic spin-off of the massively popular Lupin III anime and manga series. The concept was called Lupin 8, and it would have followed the descendants of the original characters in a space-age setting. Directed by Rentaro with character designs by Shingo Araki and Michi Himeno, the pilot episode was actually completed. 22 minutes of full animation, music, and sound effects. Scripts for at least 5 additional episodes were developed. But here's where things fell apart. Maurice LeBlanc was the original author of the Arsène Lupin stories from early 20th century French literature, and his estate wasn't happy. They demanded substantial payments for using the Lupin name, especially for distribution in France, where the original stories held enormous cultural significance. The financial demands proved insurmountable. The project was canceled, leaving DIC with a mountain of sunk costs from pre-production, animation, and marketing efforts. So what did they do? They repurposed elements into Inspector Gadget as a cost-recouping project, allowing DIC to expand into the North American market while salvaging their investment. Without a French author's estate getting protective over intellectual property rights, we never would have gotten Go-Go Gadget anything. The mustache that almost was. Speaking of things that almost happened, let's talk about Inspector Gadget's face. Picture him in your mind right now. Got it? Good. Now add a mustache. That was the original design. Inspector Gadget's original design included a mustache, but it was removed after MGM threatened legal action over similarities to Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther series. And honestly, they had a point. Think about it. A bumbling detective in a trench coat and hat constantly stumbling through cases while somehow getting credit for solving them. That's basically Clouseau with robot arms. The similarities extended beyond just the mustache. Gadget's trench coat, hat, and inept yet earnest demeanor mirrored Clouseau's slapstick style. MGM, which had acquired United Artists and the Pink Panther rights, sent a letter to DIC expressing their concerns about potential copyright infringement. Now, to be clear, this wasn't a full lawsuit, just a preemptive warning, but DIC took it seriously. Production assistant Mike Maliani and co-creator Andy Hayward simplified the overall design to prevent any further confusion among writers and animators. Here's the clever part. In reruns of the pilot, the mustache was retroactively explained as a disguise for that specific case. A nice little narrative patch to maintain continuity. The whole situation underscores just how careful the creators had to be during development. They were walking a legal tightrope, trying to pay homage to spy parodies while keeping their character distinct enough to avoid courtroom battles. Pioneering sound technology. Here's a technical achievement that doesn't get nearly enough recognition. Inspector Gadget was the first animated TV series to be produced and broadcast in stereo sound. In 1983, this was genuinely revolutionary. Stereo sound, which provides directional audio cues for a more immersive experience, was a rarity in early 80s television, especially for animated content. Think about what that meant for viewers at the time. When Gadget's helicopter blades started spinning, you could actually hear the sound moving across your speakers. Chase sequences had genuine dimension. The whole audio experience was elevated beyond what any cartoon had done before. The show's syndication model, distributed by Lexington Broadcast Services, allowed for this innovation, as it bypassed some network constraints and targeted markets with emerging stereo-capable televisions. This technical feat aligned perfectly with the show's theme of futuristic technology. It wouldn't make sense to have a cartoon about advanced gadgets if the show itself wasn't pushing technological boundaries. Searches for pre-1983 animated series with stereo sound yield no results, suggesting Inspector Gadget's primacy in this area is unchallenged. The show didn't just entertain, it literally changed what was possible in animated television. 3 gadgets before the real one. Now let's talk about the voice that brought Inspector Gadget to life, except it wasn't just one voice, it was 3. The pilot episode had 3 different voice actors for Gadget: Jesse White in a lost version, Gary Owens in a surviving one, and Don Adams in the final redubbed release. The pilot, titled Winter Olympics, or sometimes Gadget in Winterland, went through multiple iterations as producers tried to perfect the character's tone. The first version, featuring Jesse White, is considered lost media. This audio is considered lost media, with no known copies surviving. It was deemed unsuitable after testing, and White's lines were redubbed. Enter Gary Owens, a radio personality and voice actor famous for Space Ghost. His version exists in archival forms. And here's where things get interesting. Don Adams even ad-libbed the iconic "Wowzers" catchphrase during recording, except that's not quite accurate. Multiple sources suggest the phrase was actually ad-libbed by Gary Owens during his pilot recording, rather than by Don Adams as sometimes claimed. Finally, Don Adams, legendary for his Emmy-winning role as Maxwell Smart in Get Smart, redubbed everything for the official syndication. His familiar, inept spy flair defined the character, making Inspector Gadget feel like Maxwell Smart's robotic cousin. The fact that 3 different actors recorded the same character before they got it right shows just how much effort went into finding the perfect voice. Most shows settle for their first choice. Inspector Gadget needed 3 tries to achieve perfection. 1 week to voice an entire season. Speaking of Don Adams, here's something that demonstrates both his talent and the absolutely insane production pace of 1980s animation. Don Adams recorded all his lines for the entire 65-episode first season in a single marathon week. Let that sink in. 65 episodes, 1 week. That's roughly 13 episodes per day, every day, for 5 straight days. This wasn't Adams being lazy or rushing through the work. This was the reality of syndicated animation production. This approach was feasible due to the formulaic scripts, where Gadget's lines often revolved around Gadget activations and misunderstandings, allowing for batch recording. The logistics were complicated further by geography. Adams recorded in separate Los Angeles sessions, while most of the cast worked in Toronto at Nelvana facilities. This meant that Adams wasn't interacting with his co-stars during recording. He was essentially performing solo, trusting that his delivery would sync up with everyone else's performances. Adams' commitment to the character extended beyond the original run. He reprised the role in Inspector Gadget Saves Christmas in 1992 and Inspector Gadget's Field Trip in 1996. The marathon recording session stands as a testament to both Adams' professionalism and the demanding nature of 80s animation. Today, voice actors typically record episodes individually over months. Don Adams knocked out an entire season in the time it takes most people to recover from a cold. A father-daughter villain-hero dynamic. Here's a piece of trivia that adds an unexpectedly important layer to the show's conflict. In several episodes, Dr. Claw was voiced by Don Franks, whose daughter Cree Summer voiced Penny, creating an ironic father-daughter villain-hero dynamic behind the scenes. Think about that for a moment. In the recording booth, a real father was voicing the evil mastermind scheming against a heroic character voiced by his actual daughter. Every time Dr. Claw growled, "I'll get you next time, Gadget," with Penny on screen, that was a dad threatening his own kid's animated alter ego. Don Franks stepped in for Frank Welker as Dr. Claw in early Season 1 recordings, covering around 25 episodes before most were redubbed. Welker eventually redubbed most of the episodes, but Franks' performance remained unaltered in episodes such as The Cuckoo Clock Caper, Basic Training, Gadget Goes West, and MAD Trap. The connection runs even deeper. Cree Summer secured her first acting role as Penny through his recommendation, voicing her in Season 1 and marking her debut in voice acting. This was literally her first professional job, and she got it because her father was already working on the show. Summer went on to become one of the most prolific voice actors in animation history, starring in A Different World and voicing countless characters in series like Tiny Toon Adventures. But it all started with Penny, and with her dad playing the bad guy. The face we were never meant to see. One of the most iconic aspects of Inspector Gadget was the deliberate mystery surrounding its main villain. Dr. Claw's face was deliberately never fully revealed on the show to maintain mystery. Throughout all 86 episodes of the original series, viewers only ever saw his metallic gauntlets, spiked bracelets, and his pet MAD cat. This creative choice drew directly from James Bond villains like Ernst Stavro Blofeld, where the unseen face amplified the menace. This approach mirrored classic spy thriller tropes, making Claw feel more threatening than if we'd seen some ordinary human face. The mystery fueled countless fan theories. Was he a robot? Was he horribly disfigured? Was he someone we already knew? Then came 1992, and everything was ruined. It was accidentally spoiled on his action figure toy, which fans had to buy to see. The Tiger Toys action figure, priced at approximately $9.95, featured a face concealed by packaging with text reading, "Reveal the mysterious Dr. Claw." His villainous face has never been seen before. And what did fans find when they opened it? A white-haired man with a gritted teeth grimace, bushy eyebrows, and a goatee. The reaction was underwhelming. Fans described him as looking like a crooked-eyed J. Jonah Jameson on crack, or the dumb younger brother of Judge Doom. Years of mystery undone by a $10 toy. Classical music meets cartoon. let's talk about one of the most recognizable theme songs in animation history, and where it actually came from. The theme song was directly inspired by Edvard Grieg's classical piece In the Hall of the Mountain King, giving the cartoon an unexpectedly orchestral foundation. If you listen to both pieces back to back, the connection becomes immediately obvious. That accelerating tempo, the building tension, the sense of something chaotic approaching, it's all pulled directly from Grieg's 1875 composition. Composed by Shuki Levy and Haim Saban, the Inspector Gadget theme incorporates the rising tempo and motif from Grieg's piece, transforming a classical work into a catchy cartoon opener. The intro, with its building momentum mimicking the original's troll chase sequence, transitions seamlessly into the iconic Go Gadget Go hook. This wasn't just clever borrowing, it was genuinely innovative music production. Levy, in interviews, has reflected on his use of classical elements to add depth to kids' shows, believing that children's entertainment deserve the same. Musical sophistication as adult programming. The theme's success speaks for itself. It's become an earworm that generations of viewers can hum on command. Covers like Power Glove's metal version start with Grieg's original before transitioning to the cartoon theme, underscoring just how intertwined the two pieces have become in popular consciousness. The gadgets that never were. Before Inspector Gadget's final design was locked, the creative team went through an absolutely staggering number of concepts. Scrapped gadget ideas included an extending necktie, a boomerang nose, and a speedboat transformation, which were cut during development after over 350 design sketches. 350 sketches. That's a massive amount of creative iteration for a single character. The design process was led by Bruno Bianchi, who served as supervising director. The design phase, overseen by Bruno Bianchi, involved extensive revisions to address legal and narrative issues. Each potential gadget had to be evaluated not just for comedic potential, but for how it would work in animation, whether it overlapped with existing gadgets, and whether it might cause any legal concerns. Some of the rejected concepts were genuinely wild. A boomerang nose. That's the kind of idea that sounds hilarious in a brainstorm and absolutely nightmarish to actually animate. An extending necktie sounds practical until you realize Gadget already had extending arms, legs, and a neck. At some point, the extending gimmick becomes redundant. The speedboat transformation is particularly intriguing because it suggests the creators initially wanted Gadget to be even more versatile than he ended up being. The Gadget mobile already transformed in various ways, but having Gadget himself become a boat would have been on another level entirely. These may originate from Bianchi's early brainstorms or the 2024 art book The Art of Inspector Gadget by Daniel Gallego, which compiles production art and unused concepts from the DIC era. The theory that won't die. Every beloved show accumulates fan theories over time. Inspector Gadget has one particularly persistent theory that's been floating around for decades. A persistent fan theory claims Dr. Claw and Chief Quimby are the same person, fueled by a credit syncing error where Claw's voice overlaps Quimby's lip movements. Watch the closing credits of certain episodes carefully and you'll see it. Dr. Claw's signature line, "I'll get you next." Time, Gadget, seems to sync up with Chief Quimby's on-screen mouth movements. This overlap, a carryover from pilot sound cues, fueled decades of speculation that Quimby was secretly moonlighting as the leader of MAD. The theory had a certain logic to it. Quimby's exploding messages never actually harmed anyone except Quimby himself. He always seemed to know where crimes would happen, and Gadget's successes were awfully convenient. Here's where it gets interesting. The theory was later referenced in spin-offs. The 2002 direct-to-video film Inspector Gadget's Last Case actually nodded to this fan speculation by having Gadget mistake Quimby for a disguised Dr. Claw. It was a meta-acknowledgement that the creators knew exactly what fans had been theorizing. Reddit threads from 2014-2021 discuss this theory extensively, with users citing the credits as evidence alongside theories like Claw being Penny's father or the original Gadget. The theory refuses to die because honestly, it makes a weird kind of sense. Jim Carrey's lost opportunity. Here's a casting what if that could have changed Hollywood history. Jim Carrey auditioned for the role of Corporal Capeman in season 2, but lost out to Townsend Coleman, potentially altering Carrey's early career trajectory. Corporal Capeman was introduced in season 2 as Inspector Gadget's dim-witted sidekick, essentially doubling down on the incompetence for maximum comedic effect. At the time, Carrey was 23 years old, fresh off the Kenny Rogers Comedy Hour where he impersonated celebrities. He was an up-and-coming comedian looking for his break, and a recurring role on a hit animated series could have been exactly that. The confirmation comes from Maurice LaMarche, who voiced Chief Quimby in season 2. In interviews, LaMarche recounted, "Jim Carrey auditioned for Capeman. Townsend Coleman got it, but Jim was there. So why didn't Carrey get the role? Coleman's deeper, more heroic timbre fit the character's military archetype better, and he was already established in the Los Angeles voice acting scene. But here's the fascinating counterfactual. Landing Cape Man, a recurring role in a top-rated show, could have locked Carrey into animation, potentially stalling his live-action pivot. Instead, that rejection may have fueled his move to In Living Color in 1990, where Fire Marshal Bill launched him to stardom, leading to Ace Ventura and $20 million Sapatende Spahur Paydays. Sometimes losing is winning. Predicting the future. This is perhaps the most mind-blowing fact on this entire list. The series subtly predicted modern tech like smartwatches and computer books, with Penny's wrist communicator and book device resembling today's wearables and tablets. Remember, this was 1983. The IBM PC was a desk-bound behemoth. Mobile phones were brick. The internet as we know it didn't exist. And yet there was Penny, casually using devices that wouldn't become reality for another 25 to 30 years. Her wrist communicator enabled video calls to brain, GPS tracking, remote gadget activation, and hacking. It predates smartwatches like the Apple Watch by over 3 decades. The device even had what appeared to be a watch camera, something that wouldn't be commercially viable until the 2010s. Then there's the computer book, a clamshell device with a full-color screen, keyboard, voice commands, and AI capabilities. It functioned as a portable supercomputer for decoding, surveillance, and drone deployment. Released in an era when computers filled entire rooms, this was pure science fiction, until it became science fact with laptops in the 90s and tablets in 2010. Hayward confirmed in the 2024 The Art of Inspector Gadget book interview, "We were inspired by emerging tech. Penny's book was meant to be the future of computing. The show was so prescient that tech sites like Gizmodo and Digital Trends rank it among the most prescient cartoons ever made." Why there was no season 3. If Inspector Gadget was so successful, why did it end after just 2 seasons? The answer is depressingly corporate. No 3rd season was produced because DIC found reruns more profitable than new episodes, leading to the show's gradual fade despite its initial massive popularity. Here's how the math worked. Producing new episodes required paying voice actors, animators, writers, and coordinating a complicated international production pipeline. But reruns? Those were essentially free money. The episodes already existed. Networks would pay to broadcast them. The cost-to-profit ratio was massively in favor of just running the same 65 season 1 episodes over and over again. The series concluded after season 2 in November 1985, with no revival until specials like Inspector Gadget Saves Christmas in 1992. Meanwhile, extensive reruns on networks such as Nickelodeon, 1987, 1992, 1996, 2000, Global Television Network, The Family Channel, Kubo, 2019-2021, and MeTV Toons from 2024 sustained its visibility into the late 1990s. Season 2's quality declined. Budget cuts, sound mismatches, and formulaic writing suggest diminishing returns on new content. The episodes were produced in linked trios to entice stations, but paled against season 1's lavish animation. Essentially, DIC realized they could make more money doing less work, and so one of the most beloved cartoons of the 80s faded away, not with a bang, but with a spreadsheet. A global animation nightmare. The behind-the-scenes production of Inspector Gadget was absolute chaos, in the best possible way. Production was a global mishmash involving studios in France, the US, Canada, Japan, and Taiwan, reflecting the chaotic international animation boom of the 1980s. Let's break down exactly how complicated this was. DIC Audiovisuel in France handled concept development and syndication. Nelvana in Canada managed season 1, writing, voice recording, and post-production in Toronto. Animation was outsourced to Tokyo Movie Shinsha in Japan for most season 1 episodes, with Cuckoo's Nest Studio in Taiwan handling some. Additional Japanese firms like AIC, O Production, Sunrise, and Toei Animation assisted with cell painting. The pilot was animated by TMS's Telecom Animation Film with a higher budget. Then, Season 2 shifted pre-production to DIC's Los Angeles headquarters, with animation at KKDIC Asia. This international setup led to chaos. Sound effects from the pilot lingering in the final theme caused mismatches, like a police siren playing over unrelated scenes. This setup epitomized the 1980s international animation boom, where Western firms outsourced to Asia amid rising costs and deregulation. The results were sometimes brilliant, sometimes baffling, but always distinctively Inspector Gadget. Penny and Brain were strategic additions. Finally, let's talk about why Penny and Brain even exist. Penny was specifically added to the concept to appeal to young girls, while Brain the dog was created to contrast Gadget's bumbling incompetence with clever animal antics. This wasn't an accident or a creative whim. It was calculated marketing. The creators feared the show might otherwise attract primarily boys, so they developed Penny as a preteen role model who secretly solves cases using her advanced technology. She wasn't just a sidekick, she was the actual hero of almost every episode. Penny's inclusion addressed market feedback on gender balance, positioning her as the true brains behind missions, while Gadget stumbled around taking unearned credit. This decision aligned with broader 1980s trends toward gender-balanced kids programming. Brain served a different purpose. Named to emphasize his smarts, brainy versus Gadget's opposite, his clever disguises and problem-solving antics highlighted Gadget's incompetence, drawing from influences like Dynamite, Dog Wonder. Brain's role created natural comedy through ironic contrast. The dog was smarter than the cyborg detective. Penny's portrayal as resourceful and independent made her aspirational for girls, with traits like hacking and bravery humanized by typical tween interests. She's often cited as an early empowered female figure in animation, influencing countless female characters who came after. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.